Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I finally recording something I've been planning for 2.5 months now, and that is I watched a total of 25 Christmas movies, and now I am going to review a total of 6 of them and give 4 honorable mentions of ones that I do believe aren't good enough to make like my top three, aren't bad enough to make bottom three, but are still good for a watch from anyone in particular, and I think should be watched. So for honorable mentions, don't hate me for this, but it's actually the first one is going to be a low budget movie with Christmas Evil. It's definitely low budget, definitely poorly acted, but damn if the kills are not bloody, gory, and fun, and it's even a lower budget than Terrifier. So that's something that definitely impressed me. Okay, so actually that's my only honorable mention. So first, I'm going to start with my bottom three movies, and the first one, it's not terrible to an extent. I was just extremely disappointed, and that is the movie The Red One. It's with Dwayne the Rock Johnson, Chris Evans, J.K. Simmons, and as much as I liked these characters, and it also has the girl from Sabrina, the newer Sabrina show. As much as I liked it, liked a good portion of this movie, it was the end that really failed for me. It didn't really show us a lot of the characters with that little fight scene they had in there. And then the climax of it was actually a drag, surprisingly. Though Krampus was a pretty badass character. Also played by the Tormund from Game of Thrones. My next bottom is Holiday Hell. With this one, it's just boring. It is. It was the only good thing about it was Jeffrey Combs was in it. He was given his usual like snarky face as he spoke, and then the little twist at the end was decent, but at the same time, I actually didn't really get into it as much. It started slagging and going downhill for me, especially. But it is a Christmas movie anthology. Woman's trying to buy a gift for her sister, and then I thought she was supposed to be scared throughout the whole movie, and she wasn't. I found out it wasn't until the very last story when our quote unquote main villain wanted something from her. That's when the scares hit, and then come to find out the twist was, she was a witch this whole time, and she brought her dead sister back to life that he killed, and to kill him. Yes, I spoiled it because no one needs to watch that movie. It is boring. It is an anthology. Usually, I'm pretty fine with anthologies because it's usually different stories, but they're not really worth it. And for my bottom is going to be one that Vic has told me to watch from beginning to end ever since we started this. Every single time we talk about Christmas, he's always told me to watch it. So to be fair, I probably shot myself in the foot watching this because I had high hopes for it, but my bottom of this year was Jack Frost. I'm sorry. No, it wasn't funny. There weren't really any good kills. They even ripped a kill off from Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I will add they did add in their own little thing to it, but at the same time, it's kind of the same thing except kid was bullying another kid. In fact, actually, it's exactly the same. I don't think about it. Because the beheading in Silent Night, Deadly Night started off with a kid getting bullied, getting his snowboard taken, and then he get his head chopped off or his sled taken. So, personally, and I like B movies, but I would never watch. I'm not planning on watching the second one. This movie was stupid. It was supposed to be, yes, but I didn't find it funny stupid. I just found it, why am I watching this movie stupid? And if anyone's wondering before I get to my top three, the other movies I've watched is Dear Santa. I'm fine with kid movies. The only reason I watched it is Jack Black, but I was definitely not the target audience. I didn't care for it. And there were some jokes that landed, and a lot that didn't. Got Nutcrackers. I am a Ben Stiller fan. It is a depressing movie to an extent. It is. I thought it was a comedy. Turned out to be a drama. I'm not a big fan of dramas, so I shot myself in the foot by not reading the entire description of that movie. uh, Also, just quick little mention. I did watch Die Hard this year. I watched Lethal Weapon, and I did watch Violent Night. The only reason I'm not saying those are my top three, because they actually are, is because, let's face it, they are. It's a low blow. I'd rather review movies I have not actually seen, so I am not going to mention them. At least not as a big review, not as my top three. So, my starting at number three for my top three is Terrifier 3. Sure, a lot of people probably saw that one coming. I'm a big Terrifier fan ever since the first one. Terrifier 3 had some pretty good kills, nice and gory, had a great Christmassy feel. Only thing is, the reason it's at the number 3 spot is because the movie, unfortunately for me, did pale in comparison to part 2. Yes, part 2 was long, and that one dragged a few times, but this one, maybe I shot myself in the foot by watching both of them right before going to see this movie, because it felt like I've seen it all. But overall, I did like the story to it. I do like David Howard Thornton and Lauren Rivera as our main lead characters. I just hope, in my opinion, that Jonathan is not actually dead, and we at least get a little flashback to see what happened to him. Just give me that, and then I'll be happy. But I do feel like that movie was rushed at the end, which is another reason why it is number 3 and not like number 2. Because my number 2 spot is Carry On. This movie surprised me because I saw Jason Bateman as the villain. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, and I was pleasantly surprised. Jason Bateman is a good actor, and he does play pretty much your smooth talking villain. But it's more the fact that this whole movie is more of a cat and mouse chess match. Overall, it is a fun movie. Taron Egerton does a good job as your lead character. It gets dark a few times. There's 2 things in it that I'm just thinking, damn. However, the reason it doesn't go over my next one is because my next one is a damn near almost perfect movie. And let's face it, there are some things he probably could have done. Because, yeah, sure, they have a sniper rifle to your girlfriend's face. The minute you moved and that bullet is shot, there's going to be such a panic that the villain is not going to have a second or third chance to be able to hit your girlfriend. Just keep moving. He had so many chances to actually do something, especially after he learned how to disengage the bomb, which shame on Jason Bateman's character for that one. And then my top movie of the month was Heretic. I got the chance to see this one in theaters. Hugh Grant is great as this villain. You got all the 2 girls who, unfortunately, I should have looked it up. I'm bad at that, but they are amazing in this movie. It is dialogue heavy. It is slow burn, but the movie does point out a bunch of different things about religion or kind of a religious study, a character study. The Monopoly monologue is actually one of my wife's favorite scenes throughout the whole thing. It's actually one of mine too. It makes so much sense when you take into a context of everything. Heretic being my top one for the month. I am planning on doing something like this again if this video does well. Also, as another honorable mention, I did see Nosferatu in theaters. That one, the only reason it wasn't my top 3 is that movie was dark, and I'm not talking about tone. I'm talking about lighting. I understand it was done so that way they can imitate a more black and white feel without it being black and white. They can imitate a lot of the shadows and everything. They can also show Bill Skarsgård on screen without actually showing the creature, Count Orlok himself. But overall, it was hard to see a lot of stuff that happened in that movie. So that is why it's not my top 3, but it is a great honorable mention, great movie. If you haven't seen it, I suggest going to see it. So my question to y'all is, what did y'all watch over December? Any Christmas movies, or did y'all just watch plain pure horror? Christmas horror movies are fun because you get to have that extra theme you get to play with, like Santa Sleigh. That one's also always a fun one. But overall, folks, y'all don't have to go home. Y'all do got to tell Vic to stop outshining me.